we're going to now explore well, everything about these machines is just completely enigmatic. The floppy drives of the AWS, the Convergent AWS floppy drives. They're all pretty strange. Now, what I've done in order to keep them straight, because I've removed them from their machines, is I took pictures of the labels on the back of the machine, and then I printed them out so that we can actually not mix up which one goes where. May or may not matter, but, you know, to me it does. As a self-proclaimed historian of this type of thing, I kind of like to keep the original stuff with the original stuff as often as possible. At least original as far as when I got it, until I learn otherwise. So, that being the case, let's go backwards. The first AWS that we got was in 2017 on eBay, and it had this half-height drive in it, which is a Mitsubishi MF504C318U. Let's make sure you can say, there you go. And again, I just cut that and taped that right on there, and this would be the model number or product number of the AWS that we got then. Notice that it doesn't say AWS or any naming convention that we might recognize from the other ones, because the other ones are going to be very different. I'm told by my friend CPro, who's done a great deal of research on these, that this drive is capable of being quad density instead of double density, but not high density. Or maybe it's capable of being high density, but the important point is it's set, as we believe, for quad density. So let's have a look at the jumpers there. And if you go to convergentaws.com, there's a specific section of the page that you're directed to at this time, or maybe even a dedicated page by the time you're watching this, which goes through the details of what we believe these jumpers to mean based on the only available documentation for this particular drive. So again, that would be the Mitsubishi MF504C318U. All right, so that's the AWS that came out of. Then these other two that came out of AWS's are bigger, right? The full height. So we're going to have a close look at those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape these on, but not just yet, because I want to take these covers off and just get a closer look as we go here. So let's do that, shall we? I'm going to work hard not to mix those up. At least in my memory, I'll remember it now, and as long as I get those labels on there today, I'm not going to mess that up for tomorrow. So I hope. So I hope. Alright, so we're going to be taking these neat covers off, the shields. Of each of them, and have a look. Okay, I'm going to take all the screws out first. Isn't that fun? That way I stay organized. Stay organized. Okay, so let's take this off and set it aside. And let me make sure that I get this label on as soon as possible. Okay, so this is going to be the AWS 200 with the options AWS 267. This is the one we most recently got from Lockport, Illinois, just last week. Thank you very much, all of those that made that our acquisition of this possible. Okay, that came out of that one. And then there's this one. This one came in a group that I got a couple years ago. I think I got it in 2018. We're just going to call it some guy in Ohio who had these things sitting around in his garage for like a decade. So that was this one. We got 4 from him. 2 AWS 266s and 2 AWS 217s. Again, just going from the options segment there. So this is going to help us keep track of which machine that came out of. And if I get really confused, all we have to do is have a look at the label on the back and the serial number, and it all matches up. Okay, so that being the case, let's have a nice look at this. What kind of drives are these? That's the real question. Well, Magnetic Peripherals Inc., which is a subsidiary of Control Data. Well, that's kind of funky. Let's have a closer look at that. Both of these labels really say the same thing and are just a different style of label, but they have the same model number, equipment identification number, and well, we're going to check on the part number here. But it looks like they have the same equipment identification number for sure. And sure enough, very, very close to the same part number. We look over here, we see the equipment number. While the format, the label is not nearly as pretty, it certainly says the same thing, Magnetic Peripherals Inc. And it has basically the same equipment number, BR8B2-A. And the other one says the dash A, but this one doesn't have the dash A, but the A's there nonetheless, as you can see. And then we have part number 7768600 on that one. And this one is 004 on this one. Well, we got some greasy gook there I've just gotten my finger in. Serial number and lot. I don't know that that's necessarily going to help. We have a serial number here. This serial number starts with 500800. This one is 29745, so it's lower numerically. Don't know if that means anything with this particular company, but it is something to consider when looking at these. So let's see if we can find any jumpers or anything like that that might help us, once we find documentation for these drives, identify what we're looking at here. So let's take a nice close look. And see if I can see anything. Okay, now this is interesting. Look at that. So we have a M4X321H. I don't know what that is, but it almost looks like this is a form of jumper here. See that craziness right there? We're going to zoom in on this thing right here. That looks wild. Not that, but this. Right here. Okay? That just looks wild. M4X321H. Sorry. M4X321H. Well, you see how some of these appear to be closed and some appear to be open. And this is, you know, just apparently a dip socket. And then there's this thing in the dip socket. I'm going to have a closer look at this thing in the dip socket here. Just because I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that before. So let's have a nice close-up of that. Here we go. Isn't that interesting? Never seen anything like that. So I guess that's a jumper. Huh. Okay. Well, that's certainly a unique way to jumper stuff. What's just a little bit of gook in here? What is that? I don't know. I don't know what the gook is. Does it matter? It might not. It's right there. It's just kind of a fuzz. Maybe that's all it is. Just a bit of lint. A bit of non-conductive lint. We can only hope. But those are definitely open connectors there. That certainly is the way it looks. I don't feel the need to get out a tester and verify, because I think visually is pretty plain enough. Alright, well, I've just become focused on the gook here, which is probably unimportant. the fuzz. That's all it is. It's just some kind of lint. All right, it isn't even worth focusing on. Anyway, most of it's gone, so it's not going to bother me anymore. Alrighty. Well, that's very interesting. So let's look at some other labels on the board here. We have, this is probably a board printing label of some kind, or a board printing mark, board manufacturing mark. Not a lot of information on this drive, but you know, we can get a close-up of the chips just in case this gives anyone any clue, so let's just do that now. Nothing particularly special that I can see. And generally looking underneath, I don't see anything of interest under there, so I'm not really motivated to take this apart. Okay, so let's set this aside and have a look at the other one and see if there's any differences or additional clues there. What this thing came from, or what, you know, where we could find the documentation for it, what have you. Okay, so here we see pretty much the same jumper setup. It almost looks like one's connected, but I don't think it is. From this angle I can see that it's not. So that looks connected, that's open, that's open, that's open, that's open, and that's connected. And when you look at it at a slight angle, it's actually quite obvious. So I guess those are the jumpers. Are the markings the same? M4X321H. And I can only guess that these letters stand for what that particular jumper is for. M4X321H. So knowing that M is connected and 1 is connected on both of them, that should make it very interesting. So the speculation is, from those of us who have researched these things, is speculation, conclusion, whatever you want to call it, is that these are quad density drives, meaning instead of 48 tracks per inch, they're 96 tracks per inch. Okay? Which is not the same as high density, and it's definitely not the same as double density. I'm told it's quad density. So, at least that's what we were able to determine with this Mitsubishi drive. So I suppose the logic is, maybe one of the reasons these things are so weird is that that's exactly what we have. Now I'm just noticing something right here, and that is we've got the HD1 HD0 thing going on here. What is that about? You see that? HD1 HD0. Is that head 1 and head 0? Meaning that there's a head on each side? Well, wouldn't that be interesting? Is there a head on each side? Is that normal? I guess it is with certain drives. Well, it looks like there's a head down here, if you could see that. And that part isn't moving when I open and close the little door thing. And there's probably a head on the top as well. Yep. So there's a head on the top and on the bottom. Now, to be quite frank with you, I haven't studied floppy drives a great deal. So maybe that's normal. But anyway, worth noting anyway. So again, I think we were just going to take a quick look at the chips here. See if anything jumps out at anyone. Okay. Well, there we go. I don't know that there's much else to say about this. Except maybe we should just give it a try. Put it in, give it a try, see what happens. One more look at the other one here. Ah, yes. This one, Flexstar repaired it. Isn't that cool? In November of '84. Flexstar. Never heard of them. Has anyone ever heard of them? Let's have a look at this. Just to get it documented there. That's stepper motor. For the head. Seems to be the same as this one. This one just doesn't have a label. Okay. Well, if nothing else, we will consider these drives to be documented, if not understood. Because I think that at this point, they are not understood. All right, let's see if we can get one of these things to read some discs in another video. Thanks for watching.